Hoa Tran, we have worked together for 4 years, but I don't think we've ever had a chance to just sit and have a conversation about the fact that you are a refugee and the circumstances that brought you to the United States as a refugee. Would you tell us about that?
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. So it was during the time of the Vietnam War. In the U.S., it was called the Vietnam War. In Vietnam, it was called the U.S. War. As we were approaching the reality of the North Vietnamese taking over the South and the fall of Saigon in April of 1975, my family, we were lucky enough to be evacuated before the fall of Saigon. I remember being sound asleep and being woken up in the middle of the night. And my father was not there. My mother was the one who was getting us together. We all left except for my oldest brother and oldest sister, who stayed behind with my grandparents.
Can we talk a little bit about the journey from that middle of the night when your mother woke you up to when you got to Atlanta? Do you remember much of living in different places and not knowing where you were going to end up?
Yes, it was very chaotic, not knowing where we would go next, and just following the lead of the U.S. Military who were helping us to evacuate. And so we were moved from one place of safety to the next until we were able to make it.
How did you end up working with refugees today as part of the State Department's refugee program?
So in high school was when I started doing a lot of volunteer work with children in homeless shelters at the Georgia Mental Health Institute, just working with a lot of children. And I met a refugee family and got very interested in hearing about what they went through. And
were they from Vietnam also?
Yes. And so didn't understand like how they ended up in a homeless shelter. And it was a situation of domestic abuse. And so began working with the family, helping them in whatever way I could, and continue doing a lot of volunteer work, focusing on community development, human rights, racial, structural inequalities, just all of these issues I got involved with. And then that's also when I started writing a lot of poetry. If you don't mind,
Can you read
just
a piece?
read just a very short excerpt of this piece. I performed it a couple times in Philadelphia and elsewhere, but just a couple stanzas from it. It's called Departure. The war crept closer and closer to our home. My family and I were forced to leave. As we approached the huge ship, panic suddenly overwhelmed me. All I could see was the figure of my father walking away. "Wait for me, Daddy." I could hear myself screaming, but my lips never moved. "Wait for me." "Ba ơi, ba đi chỗ nào vậy ba ơi? Chờ cho con."
What would you want to tell Americans about the refugee experience? What should they know about being a refugee?
Being a refugee, it's incredible, the kinds of challenges and obstacles that refugees face. And against all odds, it's unimaginable conditions and the situation and circumstances that refugees find themselves. And I believe that as human beings, we have a responsibility to help others. And if we can strive to do anything in our power to help others who are less fortunate than ourselves, I think we must do that.
Well said. Thank you, Hoa.
Thanks.